I thought that being matipid or being kuripot meant that I was good at saving because I successfully restricted myself from spending. But in the long run, it was not sustainable at all because it programmed my brain to be scared of spending because I got terrified that I might drain out my savings if I use it. So from my experience, here are 3 questions to ask yourself to decide to spend or not to spend. What's up guys, it's Nick. As you know, I'm a recovered shopaholic, now a money mindset coach, empowering working professionals to fund their dreams into reality. So I have coached those who wanted to be a recovered shopaholic too, but there's also the other side of the coin. Those who started to save money successfully, but are now guilty or scared to use it. Well, lucky for you, I've experienced both scenarios, so I can share with you from my experience on how I've overcome them. I remember when I was able to save up my first 6 figures in my bank account, I was so happy, but at the same time, I would get scared or terrified that if it just decreased a little, or if I get just a certain amount, even if it's for my own benefit, that I'm scared that I eventually might drain out my savings. Here's the thing that I learned then that could serve as some tough love advice for you. Okay, are you ready for it? It's great to save. It's wonderful. But it becomes bad when we do everything for money and we always hesitate to spend because we're always worried to lose it. Because if that's the case, aren't we letting money control our lives instead of the other way around? If you can relate, then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel because I do have a new video every single week. Now let's get into the topic on the 3 questions to ask yourself so that you could spend guilt-free. First question to ask yourself if you're afraid to spend is, what's the cost of staying exactly where you are? Oftentimes we think about how much we're gonna lose if we spend on something, invest on something, but we forget how much cost it's going to take of not doing anything, of staying exactly where we are, not deciding to invest in ourselves, not deciding to spend on that thing that will make our lives easier. Especially the precious time that we waste, the energy that we waste in the process of staying exactly where we are because we're scared to spend. I've shared on my TikTok before that the biggest expense in my 20s that we often don't see is the time that we waste. It's not the money that we end up buying on this thing that we regret, purchasing the boodles. Yeah, it hurts, but what I regret the most, the biggest expense, is the time that I wasted. The time that I wasted staying exactly where I was when I knew that there was a better way for me to fast track what I've always wanted. So let me give you real life examples to be exact. So the misconception is sometimes like, oh, once we have 6-figure savings and we have a huge amount that we see in our bank account, then we wouldn't be scared of spending because we see it there. But what I realized was when I had that savings, for some reason, I reached a point where I would get anxious because like, oh my gosh, I can't decrease. I have to make sure that this amount doesn't decrease, or else in my mind, I might lose it. I might do something wrong with it. Because as you know, I have history of spending on the wrong things as a shopaholic, or maybe like for me growing up, I saw that you have to be very mindful of how you spend your money. I grew up in my family making sure that our needs are met, but I also remember a time in my childhood where we have to be very careful of when we open the aircon, when we turn off the lights, how we use water, because kailangan namin magtipid because it was just a rough time at that time for our family. And so it kind of translated to me growing up that like, hindi pwedeng sagad-sagad ang pera. Kapag may savings ka, kailangan lagi kami nakikitang savings. Pag wala, your safety, your survival could be at risk. What you grew up with, like the childhood that you grew up with, unconsciously, those same fears, those same doubts that you had when you were a child, you bring it with you when you're an adult. And like, so when I coach my clients, I really make sure that we get into like, when did they decide that they had to be scared of money? When did they decide that lagi silang mauubusan? When did they decide that they can't spend money or else they're gonna be in debt? You know, these are the things that are rooted in our childhood, and not unless we really become aware of them and solve them at the root cause and reframe our mindset around them, only then can we truly understand how we can overcome these these fears of being scarce, these fears that we can't spend our money or else we'll be guilty. Anyway, so I remember my first ever big purchase investment that I delayed for 2 years. 2 years. Okay? This was basically a 50K worth investment so that I could have the skills to be a coach, the skills to start a business. And I've always known about this program. And the thing was, I had the savings to use it. I had the savings to use so that I could purchase this investment, but I delayed it for 2 years. And then in my head, I was like, good job, Nick. Like, you ended up not making that investment. You could just DIY. You could just find other ways to do it. And also, like, I gave myself a pat on the shoulder that I was able to resist that because maybe I would get impulsive in making that investment to start my business. And let me tell you, I didn't consider the cost of staying exactly where I was, trying to figure out how I could finally live out my mission, find a way to serve my people, find a way to start my own business. I delayed it for 2 years. And what happened in those 2 years? Well, I hit like my quarter life crisis because I felt empty, I felt miserable, I felt unfulfilled in my career then. And it was basically like 2 years of just pursuing a career just to pay the bills. Like, I really didn't wake up with passion and purpose. That's the cost of me not investing in myself then. And the thing was, I was so blinded by my fear or like how I was really holding on to money so tight that I didn't see this cost. It's what you call like opportunity cost. And by definition, it's basically the potential benefits that you lose out on, that you miss out on because you chose a different alternative. Different alternatives such as not spending on anything, not investing in yourself. And that's what happened to me then. So please don't make the same mistake that I did. Instead of just looking at the actual cost at face value, like, oh my gosh, like for me, I was like, but that 50,000 less in my bank account that I really saved up so long for that. That's the face value that I was looking at. Versus what I didn't see was the opportunity cost. The cost of staying exactly where I was, missing out on the benefits, missing out on the opportunities that I could have started early on that would have fast-tracked my version of freedom, my version of my dream life. I remember when I then decided to invest in that program, I was able to start my dream business in 3 months. From 2 years of me staying exactly where I was versus 3 months that I was able to fast-track everything. Another example, if you're a business owner, a freelancer, it's super important to look at if you're going to scale your business, how can you hire support or ask for support? And that for me was hiring a YouTube editor to edit my YouTube videos because I realized it took so much hours in my week to like edit and all of that. And actually, when I was able to do that, I was able to open up a group coaching container for my clients who graduated from my one-on-one coaching program. I remember when I started that group coaching container with 4 of my clients who graduated from my one-on-one coaching program, Fund Your Freedom, is that I was just so kilig seeing all of their faces in one screen. And I just knew that I made the right decision. I was just so energetically aligned in making that decision for myself and for my business because I know that this is what excites me. Let me give another real life example from one of my clients, Aliyah. So we just had our check-in call because usually once my one-on-one clients graduate from my 8-week program, we check in after 60 to 90 days on how you are, how else I can support you. And I'm just so proud of her because she had the courage and funds, the savings to be able to move out on her own while scaling her business. And I wanted to give this example because sometimes we're at the crossroads of like, oh, I really need to save more, but then at what cost? And for her, she realized like if she didn't move out, she would really be sacrificing the time, the energy that could have been spent in scaling her business. I share with her, like, sometimes you feel guilty about, oh, I'm gonna use my savings, just like I did. I get that. But at the same time, instead of looking at the amount that gets decreased in our bank account at face value, we get to think about who do we become in the process? Who do we become as a result? And for me, who you become is much more powerful than what you do. Because who you become, let's say you become more independent, you become more responsible, you become more accountable of your actions, you become more courageous in taking the leap for the life that you want. Those things, those are priceless skills that you end up becoming. And the money just comes with you. The money, you know how to spend it because you know who you are. And that's ultimately how I love coaching my clients on. It's not just so focused on like how we need to save more, but like who do you become in the process? Because if you end up saving more, but you just end up being the person who is scared, fearful, doubtful, and so scarce about money, then the money you save is just useless. Because what it ends up doing, the money just cripples you, the savings just cripple you. So it needs to be a balance of like, while I'm saving, I feel free, I feel responsible, I feel independent, I feel in control. That's how I love coaching my clients, because that's when you truly feel like you are in control of your money, and that you know that you are spending and saving your money on your terms in a way that it helps you fast track the life that you've always wanted. As always, if you're curious to learn more about my one-on-one coaching program, you can check the link in my bio below, and that is where my clients get to master mindful spending and saving habits so that they could have the clarity and confidence to fund their dream life into reality. Question 2 to ask yourself if you're scared to spend is, will this fast track or delay my dream life? To answer this question, of course, you have to be first very clear on what do you want out of your dream life. Because oftentimes, right, we build a dream life that isn't ours. It's just the expectation of others of us, whether it's our parents, our family, society, our colleagues, people in the industry, right? So that's why I always talked about, I remember in this video about setting the right money goals that are aligned with your dream life, is that if you don't have clear, concrete, specific, achievable, realistic goals in line with your dream life, that's why it's also very difficult for you to spend on the right things and to also spend guilt-free, to spend worry-free. Because if you don't know how your dream life looks like, you also don't know how you're going to spend money in relation to that dream life. That's why, like, for me, when I didn't know like what I wanted to do out of my life, that's also why I just kept hoarding my savings, hoarding money, not knowing when do I spend it. I'm scared to spend it, right? That's why when I coach my clients, we get clear first on their life vision, their mission, what is their overall big picture for their life that is aligned to their values, authentic to who they want to be, and then what do they need to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months that will help them spend and invest with confidence. That way, you get to be more mindful and intentional about, okay, if I use this amount from my savings, if I set aside this portion from my income, then I know I'm using that money in a way that will help me get to my dream life faster. The thing is, saving can become a problem yes, saving can be a problem. Saving becomes a problem when you're just hoarding and hoarding money because you're always scared to lose it, and as a result, it's at the expense of making your dreams happen, of funding your dreams that you've always wanted. Let me give you real life examples as usual. Okay, back before, I was just able to get the hang of saving, was that I really wanted to buy my own laptop dedicated for my business. I was toying with the idea because back then I was in my corporate job and I had my own laptop for my corporate job. So I was like, why not I just use this existing laptop instead of bumili pa ako ng laptop, which is like what, 50 plus K, right? So I just kept trying to use the corporate laptop for, editing my YouTube videos, for drafting content ideas, for thinking of business ideas. And then for some reason, because of that, I couldn't now separate like my corporate responsibilities and like what I wanted to do outside of corporate, because I would get guilty, like if I'm using my corporate laptop, shouldn't I be using this for my corporate responsibilities only? If I do something else out of it, like, aren't I doing the company a disservice? So I had this like mind drama, which was like consuming my mental energy, and we only have so much mental energy in a day, you guys. And since it was consuming that, it was taking up space when it should be allowing me to think of more ideas, brainstorm more content creation, think of how I could start my business. And so when I didn't end up buying that laptop, it really delayed the dream life that I wanted, which is to be a full-time entrepreneur, full-time content creator, right? Versus when I decided like, okay, if I buy this laptop, it will really help me take responsibility that I'm serious about my business, I'm serious about doing it full-time and putting my heart, soul, blood, and sweat to make it happen. And so when I ended up buying my laptop, that's when really I took more concrete action for my business and for my content creation. So when I asked myself this question, then it was easy. You know, if I buy this laptop, it would fast track my dream life. It's not just like a nice thing to have, like something to brag about, but it's something that, like, to this day, because I use it to start my business, I use it every single day. This is where I shoot my coaching calls. This is where I'm looking at my notes right now while I'm shooting this video. This is where I transfer all of my videos and things like that. And so this will give you the clarity that you need. So when you end up spending this money or pulling out this money, you know that it's directly going to help you fund your dreams instead of just wala lang, feel ko lang, impulsive lang, right? And so it will give you ease and confidence and peace of mind that you are spending with intention and on purpose. Question number 3 to ask yourself if you're scared to spend is, how can you create a financial safety net while pursuing your dreams? So this varies person to person depending on what your dreams are and also how you define a financial safety net. So I'll just give you some examples that help me out. Of course, having an emergency fund worth 3 to 6 months worth of my living expenses when I decided to live on my own, to move out on my own. And then second is having a freedom fund worth 3 to 6 months of my ideal monthly income when I decided to do my business full-time and also be a content creator full-time. And then travel fund so that you won't feel guilty when you do decide to go on that trip, to go on that flight, to book that accommodation. You know that you're able to travel within your budget and also without feeling restricted, and knowing that you are enjoying your time there without feeling guilty, without feeling worried that when you get home that like, kamusta ang finances natin, diba? Pagkatapos mo mag-enjoy, and then pag uwi mo, kamusta ang finances, diba? So having a travel fund would really help out with that. That's what I've done with me booking my dream solo beach trip in Palawan. That really gave me the peace of mind that I talked about in my previous point. And then also like having a dedicated wedding fund so that when you fund that dream wedding, or after that also is that you're gonna be living together, is that it's important to have a dedicated, a separate wedding fund from the fund that you're going to use when you do decide to move in together, so that while you are pursuing that dream wedding, you have the financial ease and financial safety that you are going to stick within your budget. Another real life example that happened to me was, I remember when I was already rendering from my last corporate job so that I could really do my business full time and be a content creator full time, was like the most perfect timing, ironically, sarcastic yung perfect timing, na I had a dental problem, I had a lockjaw problem. Okay, not literally lockjaw, I can't move my mouth, but it was really, really bothersome na every time I would eat, hindi ko mabukas yung bunganga ko ng maayos. If I opened it more, it really, really hurt, or it made me feel anxious that if binigla ko siya, baka diretsong ER na ako, ganong level. How perfect is this? I'm rendering from my job, from my full-time income then, and then I suddenly have this dental emergency that I need to deal with, which then I would need to get from my savings because I was still rendering, right? So wala pa yung back pay ko, wala pa yung usual income that I would expect in my bank account. So imagine, I always share this, was that like, if I didn't have savings then, if I didn't have the financial safety net, which is my emergency fund then, I would have panicked and be like, oh, I can't quit from my job now. I can't do the business that I've always wanted. I can't pursue my dream life now because I have this dental emergency and wala akong pambayad rito. I need to go back to another job or think of another full-time job so that while I'm doing this dental emergency thing, may pambayad ako. Thankfully then, it appeased me. At first, I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna get an amount from my savings, from my emergency fund. And then I realized, like, Nick, isn't that the purpose of having an emergency fund? Is that you use it for freaking emergencies, right? That's the reason why it's good to have a financial safety net while you're pursuing your dreams, so that your dreams are not gonna be on halt. It's not gonna be parked just because you have an unexpected expense, an emergency that involves cost. I do also have a free 60-minute masterclass that you can check in the link below, where I share the details and step-by-step on how I was able to break free from financial stress, financial pressure that allowed me to go all in and taking the leap to pursue my dreams. So check it out below. It's completely free. I will email you the link to watch that video, and I'm sure you're going to take a lot of learnings and takeaways because I've been receiving a lot of amazing feedback from you guys. And of course, you can also check out this video on my recent update that I was able to hit 1 million net worth at 26. I have a lot of juicy money tips there as well. So I will see you there.